Dr. Maxwell Maltz, The Magic Power of Self-Image Psychology, The New Way to a Bright Full Life. Preface. Building a new world within you. My aim in writing this book is very definite. I hope to help you, each of you, to reach out toward happier, more productive lives. If you let me help you and if your desire for the good life is strong, you will find that your horizons are brighter than you ever dreamed. Life should be an exciting adventure. The sun should rise within you each day in terms of the richness of your feelings and the sharpness of your perceptions. You should carve out goals for yourself, and that will inspire you to enthusiastic action. Going toward life with vigor, no matter what your age, you should never fear death. One of the greatest adventures in living is getting to know yourself better. It is a tragedy that some individuals spend a lifetime going nowhere, bogged down in frustration because they don't know anything about themselves or how to cope with problems, many created by environment. If you read this book thoughtfully, it will be a voyage of discovery for you. You will learn more about yourself and you will learn ways to improve yourself. I have included 7 practice exercises and a number of specific suggestions to help you in your quest. Americans spend enormous sums of money each year for material goods, and they can serve positive purposes. Houses, automobiles, furniture, clothes, they brighten our lives. Still vastly more important is our thinking, especially our thinking about ourselves. This book revolves around this concept, around our self-image, and how we can improve it. As you read on, you will be amazed as you understand the incredible power of your self-image, the overwhelming impact it has on your destiny as a human being. I first understood this while engaged in my lifelong practice as a plastic surgeon, and I am happy to share my ideas with you. You will draw on a great treasure house to lead you onward to your imagination. From its vaults, you will bring forth mental pictures and prop them up in the playhouse of your mind. We will watch the dramas together and learn valuable lessons from them. This power of imaging is fantastic. Sometimes you might refuse to believe just how important it is, but beyond any doubt, it can predetermine successes and failures. Some people shortchange themselves and never reach their full share of possible accomplishments or their full potential as human beings. If you emphasize your negative qualities and fail to appreciate your assets, we will do something about it. If you are willing to exert effort in the best cause you will ever have, you will learn to be fair to yourself. God brought us forth on this earth to live, not to stagnate. He meant us to be happy, to enjoy our lives. He meant us to relish every moment, to weave loving care on every day that we live, no matter how young or how old we are. Happiness is a habit, just as is brushing your teeth or washing your face. You can acquire this habit if you have been conditioned to feel sour about yourself and your world. You can change, you can take hold of this habit of happiness. These are not just words. I know people who have changed, adventuring into a world unknown to them, the wonderful world of inner happiness. I hope you will allow me to help you in this direction, toward happiness. Maxwell Maltz. Chapter 1. Your self-image can give you a starring role on life's stage. Imagine that you are seated in a theater looking at the curtain which hides the blank screen as you wait for the feature picture to begin. What will this picture do for you? How will it affect you? What impact will it have on your life? We will feel moved, perhaps even to tears. We will laugh at a comedy or feel terrified at the crises faced by the hero or heroine. We will feel wonderful waves of love and compassion or surges of resentment. All these feelings will pulse through you and more. For the picture you will see is about the most fascinating person in the world, yourself. In this theater, which is in the mind and heart of each of us, you're the producer, director, writer, actor, or actress, hero and the villain. You're the film technician up in the booth, and the audience which reacts to this thrilling drama. The exciting story unfolding upon this inner screen is one which is invented every second of your life. Yesterday, tomorrow, but most important, right now. You watch the image upon that screen and you invent the image upon that screen right now. Will the story have a happy ending? Is it full of happiness and success or sorrow and failure? The storyline is already there and the discerning eye can tell the direction in which the story will go. But one realization can comfort you. Since you are the dramatist, the director, and the actor, you can change the story as it unfolds. Now, this instant, this moment, and for your whole lifetime, you can make this a success story. You can be the hero and conquer the villain. And you can make this a heartwarming story which will enrich the lives of all who know you, rather than a drab mechanical tale, a chronicle of boredom. It's all inside you. It all depends on what you do with an image you carry inside you, an image which is your most important tool, for good or for ill. It all depends on you and your self-image. Making a motion picture of yourself. Now, what do we mean by the self-image? Is there such a thing? We know there's a mind, even though no one has ever seen it. I don't mean a brain which we can see, but the mind which thinks, hopes, fears, grows happy, becomes sad, remembers, and visions, which invents molehills and mountains. The mind has just as much reality as the brain, even if we can't touch, feel, or see the mind. And the self-image has a reality, even if we can't touch, feel, or see it. In the pages of this book, we will come to grips with this reality. Because success is real and failure also is real. Energy is real and lassitude is real. I will help you to use your self-image to develop the picture you have always wanted to see, a picture of you surmounting difficulties and driving on to a successful, happy conclusion. Why is the self-image so important? As I explained in my previous book, Psycho-Cybernetics, the self-image is your own conception of the sort of person you are. It is a product of past experiences, successes and failures, humiliations and triumphs, and the way other people react to you, especially in early childhood. From these factors and from others, which we shall discuss later, you build up a picture of yourself which you believe is true. The picture might be false, and in many cases is false, but the important fact here is that you act just as if it were true. For all intents and purposes, it is true. Then you ask, in this case, my picture of myself as a weakling, as a victim, the person to whom everything happens is true. What comfort is that? There's a wonderful comfort in one fact, embodied in two little words, as if. You see, I said you act as if the picture were true. But is it? Since this picture, self-image, can change and has been changed in thousands of cases, there is no cause for despair. Understand this. You're the writer, you're the director, you're the actor starring in this picture. All you have to learn is how to change that picture by investing a little more time and energy in it, by following time-proved methods, which are so easy and so close to each of us that it's no wonder we have overlooked them. It just takes a new insight. There's a story told about the famous Russian philosopher and mystic, Ouspensky. In order to pursue his researches into the nature of consciousness, he was forced to take a drug. While under the influence of this narcotic, he suddenly realized that he had found the secret of existence, that it had come from his subconscious, where it had been all his life and was there in simple terms, released by the drug. Eagerly, he seized a pencil and wrote down the wonderful formula for success. Then he dropped off into a deep sleep. On waking up, completely conscious now, he examined the precious piece of paper. There, scrawled in his own handwriting, he saw the words "think" in new categories. This is what I hope to help you do. Think, feel, act in new categories. Re-examine what you have taken for granted. Become dissatisfied with proof. Broaden your beliefs. In other words, change your self-image. We will work together to change this mental picture of yourself. We will discuss the factors that go to make up this self-image over and over because concentration is necessary. We will use this powerful tool of mental picturing to redefine your concept of yourself, to enhance the appreciation of the unique individual that you are, each of you. Words are not enough. In the pages of this book, you will find 7 practice exercises in imagination, each of which will help you break through the barrier of your previous limitations. The power of mental picturing will help you burst through the self-imposed obstacles that are blocking your dreams. These exercises can be the most important ones you have ever worked on. I planned them carefully to help you see yourself new on the rise, going forward to realistic successes that are within your grasp. Don't defeat yourself by feeling skeptical about these exercises. They are not tangible. You cannot reach out and touch the concepts in them as you would a chair or a table. But the images you will see, the pictures of anticipation you will manufacture, these are of rare power. This power of your mind pictures is awesome. It might be difficult for you to understand the impact of their power. Perhaps you must have faith. I hope you will, because I can help you so much. Aside from these exercises, I will offer you specific suggestions for living happily in this difficult age, ideas which will help you to feel more kindly about the only self you've got. Your mental blueprint. Certainly, the discovery of the self-image is one of the most important findings of this century, for, though we may not realize it, we all do carry with us this mental blueprint, or picture of ourselves. We may not be conscious of it, but it exists. We believe firmly in it and do not question its validity. Furthermore, our actions and emotions are consistent with our self-image. You will act like the sort of person you think you are. You simply can't act otherwise, even if you exercise all your willpower. The man who thinks he is a failure type person will find a way to fail, no matter how hard he tries to succeed. Even if a few good breaks do come his way. The person who thinks he's just unlucky will manage to prove that he is indeed a victim of bad luck. The self-image is the foundation stone of our whole personality. Because of this, our experiences seem to verify and thereby strengthen our self-images, setting up a vicious or pleasant cycle. A salesman who thinks he is unworthy will face his prospect with a dejected expression. He will almost apologize for his very existence, literally inviting rejection. He will shake the confidence of the prospective buyer, and he will have proof that his self-image is correct. He is unlovable, inferior, and a failure. The high school girl who thinks she is ugly and unattractive to boys will find a way to prove that her self-image is accurate. If a boy tells her she has a nice figure, she will think of the mole on her cheek. If told she has pretty eyes, she will tell herself that her nose is too long. Her hangdog, defensive manner will eventually drive her potential admirers away, and she will have found confirmation that her way of seeing herself as ugly is true. You can change your self-image. Because of this so-called objective truth, the person rarely realizes that the trouble lies in his own evaluation of himself. If you tell the salesman that he only thinks he cannot sell, he will look at you skeptically. He knows only that he has tried and tried, but where are the results? If you tell the girl that she is really quite attractive, she will also try to prove you wrong. After all, she has no boyfriends. Yet, and I will tell you true life stories of real people, salesmen have made almost miraculous changes in earning capacity, and defensive, almost antisocial girls have adapted beautifully to boys when they understood the importance of changing their self-image. For this is basic. The self-image can be changed. One is never too young nor too old to change his self-image and start a new, more productive, more creative life. In the past, it has seemed difficult for a person to change his basic habits because his main effort has been directed at the circumference of the self, rather than at the very core. Many people have tried to use positive thinking to conquer some external obstacle or character defect. I will relax more next week, or I will pass the examination, but they had not tried to change their thinking about the self that was to do these things. Positive thinking can be used as a kind of crutch for the same old self-image, but it will not be really effective. For how can one think positively about some situation if one carries with him a negative opinion about his very self? A basic conflict is set up here, but many experiments have shown that once the idea of self is changed, other things consistent with this new concept might be accomplished, often without great strain. Prescott Leakey, a pioneer in self-image psychology, made some convincing experiments. He regarded the personality as a system of ideas, all of which must seem to be consistent with each other. Ideas inconsistent with the system are rejected, he believed, while those which seem consistent are accepted. At the center of this system of ideas is the person's self-image, his conception of himself. A school teacher, Leakey, was able to test his theory on thousands of pupils. Self-consistency, a theory of personality, the Iceland Press, New York. Leakey believed that if a student had difficulty learning a subject, it could be because from the student's point of view, learning it would be inconsistent for him. However, he reasoned if you change the student's self-conception underlying this attitude, he would be able to look at the subject differently. If the student would change his self-definition, he could also change his learning ability. This proved to be so. One student who was a poor speller and failed so many subjects that he lost credit for a year made an excellent grade, and the next year and became one of the school's best spellers. Another boy dropped from the college because of poor grades, became an A student at one of the country's most respected universities. A girl who had failed Latin 4 times finished with a fine grade after receiving guidance. A boy, told by a testing bureau he had no aptitude for English, won honorable mention the next year for a literary prize. These students were neither stupid nor lacking in basic aptitude. Suffering from inadequate self-images, they identified with their failures. When they failed a test or a subject, they classified themselves generally as failures. Their change in self-conception merely released latent abilities. Leakey, using the same method, cured students of nail-biting and stuttering. My own files contain equally convincing case histories. The school teacher who had to drag herself out of bed to face her class each day, now seeing herself more accurately, she enjoys relating to her pupils. The movie star whose frayed nerves were forcing her into semi-retirement. Today, unafraid to expose her feelings, she faces the camera without panic. The executive whose timidity interfered with his work responsibilities, today he likes himself, and because of this, other people at the office find him relaxing. These are true stories. Other people, struggling human beings like you, have changed their pictures of themselves and their lives, so can you. Discoveries of a plastic surgeon. At first glance, one would think there was little connection between plastic surgery and psychology, yet it was my work as a plastic surgeon which first made me realize the existence of the self-image, raising questions which led to important psychological conclusions. For upon starting the practice of plastic surgery many years ago, I was amazed by the dramatic sudden changes in personality, which often took place when a facial defect was corrected. In many cases, changing the physical image seemed to create an entirely new person. My scalpel often seemed to have magical powers, capable not only of improving the patient's appearance but of transforming his whole outlook on life. Fearful people became bold, the angry became friendly, the self-effacing were now outgoing. A mean, aggressive adolescent boy who always fought with his schoolmates won the acceptance of his peers when he dropped his defenses and just tried to be friendly. A listless middle-aged man who was just going through the motions felt new hope rise within him. His once despairing eyes mirrored a life they had not shown in many years. Explaining the successes was easy. For example, the girl with the hair lip, who had been teased about it all her life by her classmates. She had felt inferior about it. Her thinking was negative. She was obsessed by the thought that none of her friends had a hair lip. That was her trouble, she thought. The hair lip. Why shouldn't she feel afraid of attack? She stood out because of her physical defect, was a natural target for the cruel. When her hair lip was corrected by surgery, why shouldn't she feel less defensive, more hopeful in her thinking and in her concept of self? That she improved emotionally was no surprise. But what about the exceptions who didn't change even after their features were improved by surgery? Yet, as a plastic surgeon, it was my failures that really taught me the vast importance of a person's self-image, for when I improved a person's physical features without an accompanying lift in his spirits, I had to ask myself what was wrong. One day, many years ago, a woman in her mid-twenties came to my offices. She had a deep, indented scar on her left cheek, a constant reminder of an automobile accident she had been in. She looked unhappy with herself and her life. Who wouldn't be in her situation, I asked myself, as a kid looking in the mirror when she brushed her teeth or combed her hair? She saw a perfectly normal face and began to take it for granted. Now when she looks in the mirror, she must think, gosh, I look awful. I used to have a normal face. Now I have two entirely different cheeks. I told her that I would remove the scar and, after surgery, she would look fine once again. Don't worry, I said. We will take good care of you. She asked how she would look, and I reassured her and tried to soothe her fears. Later, I operated on her. After a week's time, she came back. I took the bandages off and handed her a mirror. Her scarred cheek was a thing of the past. Then I waited for her reaction. Many patients are overjoyed when they first see their new, improved image, but her reaction was uncertain. She expressed no real positive emotion. I waited a few seconds, then said, "What do you think? Do you like it?" She responded, "I really don't see any improvement." I was stunned. My surgery had been totally successful. Would you like to see the pictures of your face before the operation? She looked at the before pictures, then surveyed her new face in the hand mirror. It looks better, she admitted, but I don't feel better. Cases such as this one, and there have been many, helped me to understand that our scars cannot be seen, that some are worse than physical scars, that they are deep inside us and infinitely painful. Upon talking to this young woman, I learned more about her inner emotional scar, about an unhappy, frustrated romance which had ended 2 years before, many months before the automobile accident. The grief was still with her, her self-image was poor, she was still unhappy after the removal of her physical scar, which was comparatively superficial. She still longed for her lover and felt that she could not be happy without him. What could cure her? What could she hope for? Physically, she was young and attractive, but what could remove her despair? A changing, a strengthening of her self-image, of her feeling about herself. If she could improve her opinion about herself, she would feel renewed courage, would go out more confidently into the world, meet another fine young man, and walk toward greater fulfillment of her natural life impulses. Are you true to yourself? This above all, to thine own self be true, wrote William Shakespeare many years ago. But the fact is that quite a few people are not true to themselves. Like the girl whose case I have just told you about, they reject themselves. After surgery has dramatically improved their appearance, they negate the change, refuse to acknowledge it, insist that they look the same as they did before the operation. Showing them before and after photographs does no good. It even arouses anger. For people's images of themselves, good, bad, or neutral, depend on past successes and failures. This concept of one's own worth is so important, so much deeper and more meaningful than a mirror. People carry this self-image into present activities and into plans for the future too. If one's self-image is nourished on past successes, it will be pleasant, but if inhibitions have blocked off the road to success, and past failures clutter up the mind, one's self-image will be poor, as in the case of this girl, whose case I have described. What do you think of yourself? I mean, what do you really think of yourself deep down inside? Do you like yourself, or do you regard yourself with distrust? Do you expect too much of yourself, or do you sit back passively, waiting for life to come to you, for people to do things for you? Do you set reasonable goals for yourself, goals whose accomplishment will help you feel whole and alive, or do you let other people tell you what to do, what to think, and how to behave? Do you think you are good looking, or do you secretly think of your too long nose or your too big mouth? What you think is very important. Many people over the years have come to my office complaining of defects that were purely imaginary, byproducts of what these people thought of themselves. They are the middle-aged women who are convinced they look old even if their appearance is normal and often very attractive. They are the young girls who are positive they are ugly, just became physically. They are not exact duplicates of the latest movie queen. These are These are men whose false beliefs about their physical image defeats their life goals. These people are their own worst enemies. They think themselves into a living dead. How to live joyfully? How then does one live the happy life? How does one find joy living in this busy, complicated world of ours? What is the secret? It is really so simple. To really live, to find life enjoyable, you must have a realistic, adequate self-image, one that you can live with. You must like and trust yourself. You must feel that you can express yourself without fear of exposure. You must feel no need to hide your true self. You must know yourself well. Your self-image must be realistic, what you really are. You feel good when your self-image is intact and adequate. Adequate. Sorry. You feel full of confidence. You're ready to show the world what you are, and you're proud of it. You breathe life, give deeply to life, and take happily from it. When a facial defect is corrected by plastic surgery, dramatic psychological changes occur only if there is a corresponding change of the distorted self-image. Otherwise, the change is only superficial. Make friends with yourself. So you, in the theater, looking at yourself on stage where you will act out the concepts outlined in this book, take mirror in hand and look at yourself. Look long and look deeply. Do not do not be afraid of what you will see. Do you know how to look? What to look for? Do I hear someone say, I will see myself? Will you? You will see someone with ears, eyes, nose, legs, arms. But is it these physical features that you are looking for? No. Look behind these features, to the inner face, emotions, beliefs, the hidden stranger within you, which you cannot see in a mirror. This is your self-image. If an enemy, your self-image, uses the failures of the past to undermine you, to make you a failure in the present. If a friend, it draws from the confidence of past successes to give you courage to live and grow. Make friends with yourself. Only then will you be happy and attain status as a human being. On this stage, in this playhouse of your mind, we will act out dramas in which you will be the central character with your self-image as a friend. But you might tell me, I have no outer scar, my face is normal. Is this book for me? It certainly is. Less than 1% of the US population has facial defects requiring plastic surgery. Over 99% have normal faces. But of this 99% or so, many of you have scars within, distorted self-images. So many of us sell ourselves short. In the pages of this book you will find practical suggestions for improving your self-image and exercises designed to accelerate your pattern of positive change. You will set for yourself the goals which you long to achieve success. Happiness, friends, money, relaxation, whatever they are, and if they are reasonable goals, we will move toward them, utilizing the power of mental imagery. To improve your self-image, you must be willing to apply your mental energies in doing these vital practice exercises. If you work hard at them, you can change. More than that, the changes might seem miraculous to you and your friends, but you must work hard, stepping out on the stage of your mind to practice. Actor Laurence Olivier's superb craftsmanship did not just happen. At first you will flub your lines and miss your cues. Don't worry about it and don't blame yourself for it. Change takes time and effort, but if you keep at it, the production will be smooth later on. Aldous Huxley, the great English writer, once wrote, "There's only one corner of this universe you can be certain of improving, and that's your own self. That's just what we're going to do." Chapter 2: Truth and Imagination. Keys to your personality. You're going to change your self-image. You are tired of tearing yourself down, heaping criticisms on your thoughts and actions. Perhaps you're still not convinced you are worth the trouble, but still you're determined to see yourself with pride. You will, too, if you're willing to work. I promise you that your mental picturing can be changed, and your life with it. First, however, we must select the equipment we are going to use in this overhauling of your self-imagery. Our first tool is extremely powerful. It is simply the truth. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. John 32. Truth crushed to earth shall rise again. Brilliant. Yes, truth either sustains us or lets us down. Its importance in our lives is overwhelming. What is the truth about yourself? Are you convinced that your image of yourself is a true one? Do you look at yourself as a fool, a baboon, monkey, as a coward, or a hero, a master of your fate, or a victim? As you stand on the stage of life and look at yourself in the mirror, how do you judge yourself? What are your good points and your bad? Do you feel like yourself? Are you a friend or an enemy to yourself? The most important exploration which faces mankind and you personally today is not the exploration of outer space, but the exploration of inner space. It can change whole civilizations, and it can improve your life through the most rewarding adventure of your whole existence. What is the real truth about yourself? Did I hear you say, "Of course I know the truth about myself. If I don't know myself, who does?" But psychologists and psychiatrists have repeatedly pointed out that the most difficult person for one to evaluate objectively is one's own self. Surely, if you stop to think of people you know, you will agree with me. All of us know intelligent people who think they are stupid, good-looking people who imagine themselves ugly, and people who downgrade themselves, constantly evaluating our successes as failures. In my practice as a plastic surgeon, I have often met people whose self-evaluations were grossly inaccurate. One patient comes to mind, a timid teenager. His truth about himself was that he was weak, that his receding chin had doomed him to a life of misery. When he first came to my office, he was 18, ready for college, but he didn't even want to go. He felt he was worthless. His high school record had been poor. He had listlessly dawdled his way through 4 boring years. He had taken part in no physical activities, had no real friends, kept to himself, and died inside. Why should Kulich be any better? I was his last hope. Could I do anything with the chin with which fate had saddled him? Something was wrong with his self-image. I saw quickly, for his chin was not classically perfect. It was no different from millions of other chins. These other millions of people surely did not give such a mild imperfection even a second thought, but he was obsessed with it. The recession in this chin was too mild to require plastic surgery, so instead I talked to him about it. I asked him when he had first begun to worry about his chin and why he associated it with weakness. After seeing him several times, I got the full story. When he was 10, he had overheard his parents talking about him when they thought he was asleep. I wonder whom he takes after, his father had said. He hasn't got the family chin, isn't that odd? The young boy looked at himself in the mirror the next day. He never noticed his chin before, but now it looked terrible to him. How had he overlooked the way it receded? He went to the family album and looked at pictures of his family, uncles, grandfathers, cousins. Strong faces, especially the men, he thought. Not one receding chin. I'm the only one. Unfortunately, he did not tell his parents he had overheard them, and he did not seek help for his torment. At the age of 10, considering himself an outcast, he kept his concept of his weak chin to himself as his own personal sorrow. As he grew into adolescence, his sensitivity about his chin grew and grew. He was afraid to show his profile to people, so he would face them directly. This got him into ridiculous situations in which he would constantly move about to prevent the offending profile from showing. People began to notice how nervous he was and laughed at his eccentricity. Finally, he told his parents how bitter he was about his chin, and they took him to see me. Luckily, I was able to help him. I told him that objectively his chin was not a bad one at all, that his truth about himself was pure fiction. Not only that, I told him that he was no weakling, that he had to realize that he was as good as anyone else. I enlisted the help of his parents, his father. His father had, of course, long since forgotten that he had ever made the remark, and he had made it casually and innocently at the time. They both assured him that he was a fine-looking young man and that his chin, while not the typical family chin, was reasonably normal. Naturally, a concept which one has held of oneself for 8 years doesn't go away in a day, but after several weeks, with his parents helping him to see the real truth, he began to feel more at peace with himself. Slowly, his truth about himself changed. He went to college, and along with his rising self-esteem, he became a wonderful student. He majored in languages, became a successful writer, got married, had children, and today he doesn't waste his time worrying about an absurd, untruthful idea. People's actions always depend on what they think is true about themselves and their environment. This is fundamental. It is the way we are built. We act as if our concepts are valid no matter how misguided they are. Experiments with hypnotism also illustrate this point. Don Newcomb, at one point in his brilliant baseball career, was afraid to travel on planes. The big pitcher thought he knew the truth that an airplane he boarded would crash. Newcomb went to see a hypnotist. He was told under hypnosis that his plane would not crash, and the practitioner bought round-trip plane tickets for himself and Newcomb, New York to Detroit and back. Apparently, really convinced of this new truth, Don relaxed on the plane and enjoyed the trip. Los Angeles Dodger shortstop Maury Wills was also helped by hypnotism. An rectifying base stealer, Wills at one time began to worry about his legs. He thought that they pained him, but there was no cause for the pain. The hypnotist, putting him in a trance, said that it would be too bad if his worry undermined his base stealing ability. To Will's amazement, his pain vanished. In an indirect way, the hypnotist had told him the truth about his legs, and he had accepted it. People under hypnosis have taken action on the most unlikely truths. Told that water is champagne, they have become intoxicated. Informed that the weather is warm, they have perspired. Then told that it is cold, same situation, same temperature, they have shivered and put on additional clothing. Thought he was Frank Sinatra, a hypnotic subject reached for a non-existent microphone and began singing a tune the hypnotist told him a new truth to which he quickly adjusted. These people, under hypnosis, accepted new truths, some false, some true, but enough of them. How about yourself? What is your truth about yourself? Do you undervalue yourself? Most people do. Is your truth about yourself that you're too thin, or that your nose is too long, or that you're stupid, or that you will never succeed at anything, or that you have bad luck? Not only are these truths negative, they are also false. You must remember that God created you for a purpose. Let me repeat. Not only are these truths negative, they are also false. You must remember that God created you for a purpose, to do good on this earth for yourself and your fellow man. You must remember that each of you, no matter how painful your past experiences, has something unique and positive in him. In you. You must understand that each of you, no matter how downtrodden, has something good to offer. Too many of you hypnotize, and that is not too strong a word, yourself with false beliefs about yourself. You're your own worst enemy. You undermine yourself with critical truths that even your actual real enemy wouldn't think. You base feelings of inferiority on evidence that any fair-minded jury would reject. Your truth is not truth at all. It is often just a prejudiced case directed against yourself, one more unkind than you would level against any of your acquaintances. You give yourself as much justice as would a lynch mob. You are unique. God did not mass produce the human race. People do not roll off an assembly line uniformly like the latest model automobile. He made people of different shapes and sizes and of different skin color. He created people with many more subtle distinctions. He made each of us unique and individual, and he didn't set up standards to which we must conform. You are unique. This is an obvious truth. You should see this fact as a positive life force, not as a fact to substantiate a feeling that you are inferior. Yet most people mar their lives with inferiority feelings and thus put obstacles between them and successes and happiness. Every person on earth is in some way inferior to some other person. Certainly I cannot hit a golf ball as far as Arnold Palmer. I cannot dance as well as Fred Astaire. For that matter, I cannot equal Theseus Clay in either boxing or showmanship. Acknowledging this lacks does not make me feel inferior, not in the slightest. I do not compare myself to them. I accept myself just as I am. Every day I meet people, bookkeepers, salesmen, corporation presidents, who are superior to me in some area. So what? These people cannot improve a scarred face, and there are other things I can do better than they can, and they have no cause to feel inferior to me for these reasons. When we feel inferior, it is because we measure ourselves against somebody else and convince ourselves of the entirely ridiculous idea that we should be like somebody else or even everybody else. Certainly this is a false conception, for everybody else is made up of individuals, no two of whom are the same. We stack evidence against ourselves, and this evidence is often based on false premises. Many people, in their cruelty to themselves, believe that they are so inferior that they simply cannot live with themselves. To make life tolerable, they then strive to be superior. They then drive and drive themselves, making themselves thoroughly miserable in their enslavement in a web of untruth. Inferiority and superiority are merely opposite sides of the same coin, and the cure lies in simply understanding that the coin itself is counterfeit. For the simple truth is that you are neither inferior nor superior to your fellow human beings. You are you, and that's the whole story. The truth is that, as a personality, you are not in competition with anyone else. God made you a unique individual. You will never be the same as another person, and you were never meant to be. This is not something phony, something sugar-coated to make you feel better. This is the real truth. It is your negative truth which is false. Thinking can make it so. You might be thinking, this is all well and good, but my truths about myself are negative, and they have been that way for a long time. Can I change them? Yes, you can. Think new thoughts about yourself. See yourself in a new light as an individual like no one else on earth. Forget your past failures, bury them, and think of your successes, no matter how few. Remember that you have an obligation to yourself to make your life on this earth as happy as possible. Believe in this new truth and act on it. Resolve to be your own friend, not your enemy. I'm not telling you that it's easy to change your basic truths, but if you keep at it, following the suggestions I will outline in this book, applying yourself to the practice exercises, I assure you that you can do it. In doing so, you change the self-image with which you rise and fall. How to turn as if into reality. Your second item of equipment is functional and creative, and will help you most to develop a true and successful self-image. It is your imagination. Imagination is as elusive as joy or sorrow. You can't put it in a bottle or get it out of one. It has no shape, and yet it gives you shape. Imagination is what puts the I in image. It enters into our every act. It is imagination which gives us the goal for which we head. We act or fail to act. Our acts are accelerated or frozen because of imagination. If you use your imagination positively, you can make yourself a bigger person. In the Stanislavski School of Method Acting, we find a wonderful example of imagination put to use. A method actor playing a king in a Shakespearean drama tries to think as if he were that king. He tries to put himself completely into this king's shoes. He stands on the stage and projects this as if into a living reality for the audience. Actors in general are able to do this. One day last year, I visited an acting school where a director's class was scheduled. I joined a group of people who were standing around informally, watching a scene the director had mapped out for two young people. One a well-known actress. In this play the girl was acting the part of a 16th or 17th century girl who was accused of witchcraft. When she imagined she was this girl, she acted the part so well that when on trial, being accused, looking up angry at the heavens, she seemed to meet the very force of evil. You could understand how unenlightened, superstitious people in those days could believe in something so absurd in reality as witchcraft. Some actors using their imaginations are able to completely change the images they project. Dick Powell changed from song and dance man to tough guy detective and was successful as both. James Cagney has been equally convincing as the good guy, the vicious killer, or an eccentric ship's captain. June Allison, after many years of being the sweet, wholesome girl, played the shrewd manipulator and was believable. There are actors who can change their self-image with such skill that when you see them on the screen, it is hard to even recognize their face as the same one you have seen in older motion pictures. I think this is the case with Geraldine Page, whose drug-addicted actress in the moving picture Sweet Birth of Youth seemed completely unrelated to her bashful spinster in Summer and Smoke. But the use of imagination is not limited to the actor or to other creative artists. You use it as they do every day. Are you worried? You are using your imagination, seeing yourself and what can happen to you. Worry is a state of mind before the event happens. Remember that. Do you worry about things that never happen? Too many of us use our imaginations negatively. We worry. Not that worry doesn't sometimes have a positive function. It can prevent catastrophes, even save our very lives, but many people worry destructively. They stop up their creative energies, keep themselves from relaxing, and continually imagine things that never happen. There's one man I know, a businessman, whose father smoked a lot and 5 years ago died of cancer of the throat. Ever since his father's death, this man has worried about cancer. First he stopped smoking, but this did not stop the torrent of anxiety. At the first sign of a cold or even a husky voice, he rushed to see the doctor. He thought about cancer all the time. When he read articles in newspaper and magazines about cancer, his worries increased and he read less. Eventually, his imaginings dominated his life, and deciding he would have enough worry, he retired from his life work, thinking that might help him relax. He still worries, tough, and his health is still fine. A woman, a former patient of mine, has an imagination which tortures her every day of her life. Instead of one worry, she has many. She fears heart attacks, nuclear holocausts, stock market catastrophes, death of dear ones, and devotes her God-given gift of imagination to negative ends. Now, of course, unpleasant things do happen now and then. I don't mean the never to be taken literally, but people like this who worry constantly imagine things that, to be exact, rarely happen, and their worry is more apt to do harm than good. You can get that pay rise from the boss. Let's take a common situation and see how you can use your imagination, positively or negatively, and what the results will be in each case. You work in an office. You have held down the same job for 2 years and you want a raise in pay. You're entitled to more money you feel since you have done good work. You have another child and you need the money. But you feel discouraged when you imagine what the boss' reaction will be. You picture the approaching interview in your mind. You will knock timidly on his door. You always were afraid of the boss and enter his private office. He will be talking on the phone and signing letters at the same time, and you will sit down and wait for him to finish his phone call. You will fidget in your chair and wonder if it's really such a good idea to ask for a rise. You could wait another 6 months, couldn't you? And after all, he is such a busy man. You worry about what you should say first. Perhaps he would be annoyed if you asked for a rise too directly. Maybe you should start talking about some neutral subject like the weather or, alright, do you think you will get the raise? I doubt it. Your imagination has betrayed you. You see yourself a failure, and so you will probably fail. Now let's put imagination to use again, but this time on your side. Once again, mentally picture the situation. We will knock on the boss's door. You won't smash it in, but won't feel timid about it because you're asking for a rise that you know you deserve. You will walk up to his desk, stride crisply and confidently, and sit down, waiting for him to finish his phone call. When he finishes, you will ask him for your raise. When he finishes, you will ask him for your raise, knowing full well that you are worth every nickel you're asking for, and knowing that the boss realizes that too. You're confident that you will achieve what you're aiming at, your pay raise. Do you think you will get it now? I do, because you are using your imagination to enhance your self-image. Put simply, you're betting on yourself. You're confident that you will achieve what you're aiming at, your pay raise. Do you think you will get it now? I do, because you are using your imagination to enhance your self-image. Put simply, you're betting on yourself. I know men who have used their imagination to see opportunities where other people saw nothing. There's one fellow, and he wasn't well educated in terms of college degrees, who 25 or 30 years ago bought some small brownstone houses in an undeveloped area about a half-mile from Central Park in New York City. He was not a wealthy man, but he saved his money and bought this property. People laughed at him, called him an idiot, but he was the bright one actually. He had vision. He saw that a day was coming when this area, not too far from the huge park, had to improve. Today he is a millionaire, and people call him a genius in business. In truth, this man had confidence in his imagination. If I am a well-known plastic surgeon today, it is because I used my imagination and set goals for myself. When I started my medical training over 30 years ago and taught people I was interested in plastic surgery, they scoffed. At the time it was a little pulpit-sized field. Where can you study? They asked. My mother wept. She wanted me to be a general practitioner, became assistant to our family doctor, work up a safe, sure practice. But I had this vision and I imagined ways in which I could help others as a plastic surgeon, how I could give people new faces which would help them feel better about themselves. I assured my mother that I knew that what I was doing, and I made it my business to reach my goals. I studied with men in Paris, Berlin, Vienna, London, who had some plastic surgery during World War I. Then I came back home and opened my office. Everyone predicted failure, but my imagination told me that people would need a good plastic surgeon, and I was right. The first month was difficult, but then my practice started growing. Putting a smile on your self-image. How about me? You might ask. What can I do? You can do plenty. I'm going to show you how to use your imagination. as your friend to improve your self-image and give you a new life. I say new because too many of us have given up on life. Our imaginations have let us down. Napoleon Bonaparte once wrote, "The human race is governed by its imagination." But to many people, unfortunately, imagination is not good government. It is a breeder of death and failure, but the imagination is conscious of an indestructible dominion, wrote the great English poet William Wordsworth. True, but will your imagination's dominion lead you to success or failure, to happiness or misery? In these pages, you will learn to use more imagination as a tool for happiness, a constructor of a healthy self-image. Our recent realization that our behavior stands for our images and beliefs gives us a new potent weapon in changing personality. It opens up a new door leading to the good life. For you, act and feel according to the image your mind holds of what things are like, which might be quite different from a reality. Moreover, if our mental images of ourselves are twisted, our reaction to our surroundings will be doubly unrealistic. If we picture ourselves functioning in specific situations, it is nearly the same as the actual performance. Mental practice helps one to perform better in real life. A psychologist using controlled experimental conditions found that mental practice could help people throw darts accurately. His subjects sat each day in front of the target, imagining they were throwing darts at it. It improved their aim as much as actually throwing the darts. Golfers use this technique. When you next watch a golf tournament on TV, note how the pro rehearses his shot. Imagines what is going to happen before he actually strokes the ball. Shadow boxing is a classical example of people using their imagination to prepare them for a successful experience in the prize ring. How can this help you? You can shadow box in the areas that are meaningful to you. I gave you an example of mental picturing when I discussed getting the pay raise from the boss. The fellow who probably got the raise saw himself as smiling and efficient and imagined his boss responding to the integrity of his self-image. This can work for you. You can become a more positive person. You can image the self you would like to be and see yourself in new roles. You can change your personality, become more whole than you have ever been, if you build a stronger self-image. Let's get one thing straight, tough. The aim of self-image psychology is not to create a fictitious self, which is omnipotent. Such an image is as untrue as the inferior image of oneself. Our aim is to find the best we have in us, realistically, and to bring it out into the open. Why should you continue to shortchange yourself? Your success servo mechanism, success automatism. Your imagination is so important because it can trigger off your success mechanism, the great creative mechanism within you which can implement your success in life. I describe this automatism at great length in Psychocybernetics, which you should read if you want a complete technical understanding of it. The science of cybernetics has led us to the understanding that your so-called subconscious mind is not a mind but a goal-striving servo mechanism consisting of the brain and nervous system which the mind directs. We do not have two minds but a mind or consciousness which operates an automatic, goal-oriented machine. Basically, This machine functions like an electronic servo mechanism, but it is more wonderful than any man-made electronic brain. This inner mechanism is impersonal. It will work automatically to achieve the goals which you yourself set for it. Feed it success goals and it functions as a success mechanism. Feed it with negative aims and it operates as a failure mechanism. Like any servo mechanism, it must have a clearly defined objective toward which to work. Our automatic mechanism seeks to reach objectives presented in the form of mental pictures which we create by using our imagination. The main goal image is our self-image, which defines the limits of our endeavors, the areas in which we must operate. Our creative mechanism works on the data we feed it, just like any other servo mechanism. Our thoughts are funneled into it, describing the problem which it must tackle. In this sense, our beliefs and our mental pictures predetermine the final results. If we provide our automatic mechanism with information about our inferiority, a reflection of a pure self-image, it will process this data working as a failure mechanism, translating this into objective experience. Too many of us do this. To accelerate your determination to get more out of life, you must learn to use your great creative mechanism as a success mechanism, not as a failure mechanism. You must develop new ways of thinking and imagining that to that you will build a strong, reality-oriented self-image which will give nourishment to your success mechanism, leading the way to happiness. In this practice exercise in this chapter and in succeeding chapters, I will show you how to use your imagination to put a smile on your self-image and a spring in your stride and a song in your soul. I will show you how to picture your past successes, not your failures, and carry this successful self-image forward into the operational success that constitutes the good life. Practice exercise number 1. Building a new self-image. You form your present self-image from mental pictures of yourself in the past, growing out of judgments you placed on your experiences in life. We will now work on building a healthy self-image with this same use of imagery. But first remember this: change will not come without effort. You must work hard to realize inspiring results. You must be willing to set aside time daily for this exercise as well as for the other practice exercises in this book. I would suggest an hour a day. Don't make yourself a slave to this schedule, but discipline yourself so that 9 days out of 10 you are working on these exercises until you get the results you want. If improving your self-image is important to you, and it should be, you will find the time. Sit down or lie down somewhere that is restful and quiet. Relax and make yourself as comfortable as you can. Then close your eyes and let your God-given imagination work for you. In the theater of your mind, picture yourself as you truly like yourself. Imagine that you're looking at a motion picture screen, watching a picture of yourself. See yourself in a problem situation as you have been in your best moments, handling this situation. I can tell you specifically what areas to focus on. This is individual, but I can give you a fictitious example and you can take it from there. Suppose you are a young woman, 22, single, and you have quit your steno job because you didn't like it. You want a job as a private secretary and you know you will be good at it. Your trouble is that job interviews make you nervous and inhibited. Every time you have ever looked for a job, your self-image has been weak. No, that's not true. There was once when you were 16 and you wanted a job as a swimming concealer at a girls' summer camp. You felt good that day. Fine. Picture that interview, seeing and feeling every detail in your imagination. You walked into the office building. High heels, clacking in the lobby. The camp's office was on the 13th floor and you laughed at their lack of superstition. You smiled at the elevator operator and he said, "Good morning." The camp's office was one small room, but you didn't feel cramped. You sat down and smoothed your dress. You were wearing your black dress with gold buttons and your hair sparkled. You felt pretty and you weren't worried about the interview. You felt too good for that. The interviewer, sitting in a leather swivel chair, seemed friendly to you because you felt friendly. Keep visualizing the skin in detail, feeling once again the confidence you felt during this interview. See everything in your mind. The mahogany desk, the interviewer's eyeglasses, until this past success is part of you, and you're ready to act on it, forgetting your fear of other interviews. Making this new confidence part of a growing self-image. I created this example in my imagination just to show you generally what I mean. Now apply this potent method to your own realistic case. Perhaps you are a man in your 60s. You no longer work and devote much of your time to community activities. You enjoy belonging to organizations, but when there's a public discussion, you can't seem to talk as you would like to. You crawl into a shell instead, fearful of being the center of attention. Still, there was that time 10 years ago. Perhaps you are a younger man in your 30s, the family breadwinner, and you love to play tennis but feel self-conscious and awkward when you get out on the court. Still, how about that time you beat Frank, the only time you ever beat him? Maybe you're a woman in your 50s. Your children have grown up and married, and when you see them, you feel like a stranger to them, unable to relate meaningfully to their world, unable to meet them halfway. Still, how about the warm, sincere talk you had 6 months ago with your daughter-in-law before you both put your defenses back up? Only you know what your problem situations are. You feel them in your heart. During this practice period, focus on a basic problem situation with this important switch. This time, you are seeing yourself in the theater of your mind, handling the situation as you would like to handle it. This time, you're successful and you bring this success back onto your inner motion picture screen and see it again and again. During this extremely vital practice period, see yourself over and over, acting and reacting the way you would like to in a difficult situation, activating your success mechanism. How you acted yesterday doesn't matter. How you act tomorrow doesn't matter. See yourself as a success. Keep this image alive. Imagine your feelings if you were to become the kind of person you like to be. In terms of your real potentialities, if certain situations have frightened you, picture yourself mastering them, winning out over your inhibitions. slaying the dragon of failure. The power of your imagination is so tremendous that it may take you weeks to realize it. For a while you might doubt this great power because it is intangible. You cannot touch it, but Jesus Christ's message was intangible, so are the beliefs of most religious and political philosophers. Faith itself is one of our greatest possessions and it is not material. As time goes on and you continue to use your imagination positively, funneling information into your successful mechanism, you might be surprised to find that your new picture of yourself is becoming a reality. You're going out into the world with more confidence. You're acting differently. Your image of yourself is getting stronger with each passing day.